friends, I am going to do a clasp video for you on what gold clasp looks like, silver as well. It can be, they usually have a standard for like the different ages of the jewelry and where they come from. Okay, a typical non-real clasp looks like this. That is 99% of the time not real, just the way that it is. And then if there's a opening that you can see, it'll another thing. So you can see how that's been opened and put on there. However, if a chain breaks, somebody may put a gold chain on a non-gold necklace, or they'll put a gold clasp on a non-gold necklace, or they'll put a non-gold clasp on a gold necklace if it has broken. So you always have to test both the chain itself and the clasp. So there's quite a few different kinds of clasps depending on the age of the jewelry. So this clasp, you can see it doesn't have the traditional, it just looks like a regular chain, but the chain is super, super fine. And when you look at it under a loop, you can see on the charm itself and the chain, you can usually see markings on them that will tell you if they're real or not. They've gotten better over the age of actually making it more easy to see. This is so small, hopefully you'll be able to see it clearly. Right there on the clasp, it says 10K. So it can be just a normal little clasp like that, like any cheap necklace. But also when you do that, you always test it with a magnet. And then you also look and see if you can see any openings on the clasp jump rings. And usually with real gold, they're soldered, so you couldn't open them without breaking them. So that's just one way to tell. So that one's 10 karat. It's not magnetic. It's marked clearly. And you can check the necklace, the charm, and the clasp to make sure. Then as the years go on, they started using this type, this triangle looking marking. So there's a similar clasp that I just showed you, but the marking on the clasp made it so hard to see because it's so teeny. As you can see, the clasp is just super teeny. So they started adding this little lip kind of a thing to it, and it will say on there, and it will say on the clasp as well, but a lot of people, it's that the clasp is so small that they started putting it on a little flat disc like this. So you can see it says 10K right there, and this, or 14K, sorry, this is a baby bracelet. And so the regular clasp I just showed you with that little tag. Then on bracelets, they've always been really pretty good on bracelets. They don't want you to lose them. So this is what it used to be like. So it's like this lobster claw looking thing, which in any cheap necklace that you get now has that lobster claw tag on it, right? But you look at the edges of, and you can see that it has stampings on there, and that's the older, you know, this is, it's as you go, this is how they've changed. So it's pretty wide. Every part is marked. So on this lobster claw, it's super teeny, and you're not going to even, they're so small, it's just kind of hard to see, but right on the claw part, right there on the claw part it's marked. Okay, so it's marked there, but it is also marked on the necklet, on the edges of the bracelet itself where it's welded. So that's the designer mark on there on the one side, and then okay, that's the designer mark there. But then there is this little tag with the designer mark, kind of similar to the other one I was showing you. So they started adding tags, and at the bottom of that, hopefully you can see it says 14K right there. So the tags got to be a little different. It's not quite that little triangle-y looking diamond part that the other one was. Okay, so that's 14K. And then let's see, they started doing this little thing right here on them. And a lot of them are this way now. So they have this little Italy 14K. So a lot of them have that little tag on them now. And here's one in, that was white gold, and here's one in, so they can have either type of clasp. So this one has a little round clasp. This one's broken, but it also has that little tag on it. So it will say on the clasp itself, like what I showed you at the beginning, and then that little tag. And they're also welded, so you make sure there's no cuts in there. So that was a 14K. And then they got a little bit more sophisticated, and the equipment got a little bit better. So they started making, some of them were with this round clasp still, but the edges are these tiny little, they're smaller. So remember on the other one they were kind of big and angled, and now they're a lot smaller. So hopefully you'll be able to see this. This is a designer mark on this side, and this side is mark, let's see, right there. And sometimes it's marked 925, and sometimes, depending on what country it comes from. So let's see if there's a clearer one. Here, let's try this one. Okay, so then they started going more with this type of claw, and this is the more traditional one that you'll find now. It's this type of clasp. It's more of an oblong clasp, and the edges are almost always that type of edge now, where it's got the writing on it, and it's welded so it's stronger. And they're almost always stamped. And depending on what it is. Sometimes pure gold is marked 925 in some countries. Just like sterling is 925 in silver. So, so then the clasps, so that one's pretty small. Let me show you the difference between, these clasps are the same, but they can come in all different sizes. So I just wanted to show you the difference in the sizes of the clasps. So this one's beautiful, it's 14K. Look how pretty and big that one is. So they can come in the small oblong, or they can come in this like bigger or really big. And most of the time they're either marked right here or right here. They're stamped there, or and or here on the sides. You see that? Italy, 14K. So there's those type of clasps. And then they have, and at first when I first got this one, I was like, that's not real, but it's a designer. And sometimes they have these, and this is more like an 80s type of clasp, but once again, the edges are welded, so there's no openings where these can be like opened up and taken off. So that's a good sign of real gold. So 14 karat, right? But I just want to show you the different types of clasps. So there's that big one. It's similar to the old early gold clasps. And then there's these type of clasps. Some of them are on the sides. So this one has a button to the side, and it also has one safety lock. So you have to lift that safety lock off. I don't want to break it. So it looks like that. You lift it off. Hopefully you can see it. So it's got a little hole in it, and you can latch it down so that if you bump this little clasp that unlocks the clasp, that it won't come off. So you always want to make sure that those are latched on when you can. And then to get it off, you flip it up and you push the button. Sorry, my back hurts. I've been sitting too long. So you push that down. You can see it kind of, that's the latch that closes it, and it slides in. You can hear it snap. And you push it down and pull it out. And sometimes these ones you have to look really carefully because the markings can be in here. They can be on here, the little flap thing. That little flap, they can be written on that. They can be on the little button at the top. Or they can be on the bottom of here where the clasp goes in. Sometimes it's on the sides where the clasp will go in, so like right there. And sometimes it's on the bottom of where the thing goes in, or the side where the thing goes in, and I'll show you one like that. But this one happens to be written on the little side of where that little clasp, the locking clasp, goes on. So it's right there. So it says 14 karat gold. So you have to kind of be aware of what the clasps will look like. So sometimes it can be, so this is a different kind of clasp. It's a little bit flatter. It's similar but not similar. It has two locking mechanisms on the side. You can see the two clasps on the side, and then it has a more of a flat wider one that goes in. So it slides in like this and it locks. You can kind of hear it lock, and then you push these around on the sides, on both sides, to lock it. And sometimes the markings are on the bottom here, but they can also be on the flat things that go inside. So you'd have to lift these up like this and push that button on the top, and then pull it off. So pull it off. But sometimes it's written in here, sometimes it's written on here, the little flat area right here. But this one, and sometimes it's written on the inside of where you'd slide it in. But those ones wear off, and so they typically put it on the back. So that's on the back of that one. And then some are a little bit thinner. So there's all different types. This one is similar. These types, China really likes these types. Some of them on watches, they'll just be a chain. So this one's similar. But I just want to show you the writing is not on the same spot on that one. So this one, it's on the inside of where, so this is the one that slides into this one. See that? This is the one that slides in, and it's written on the bottom right there. So You just have to like look around because they're on all sorts of different places when you're on clasps. It's just, that's how it is. It's just, you have to just kind of pay attention. First test, check it with a magnet. Second test, look at if they're open, like I showed you on this one. See if there's any open jump rings, if the jump rings have holes. This type is never real, usually, unless it's put on as a replacement. They're usually more like this type. They're thicker. They don't want you to lose it, so they're not going to put it on a skimpy little ring unless it's a really fine one. And look, this is why this one's broken. It's a fine little, and it broke because it's so fine. That's why they do the thicker ones, because that happens. This one also is broken. So that's why they started going with more of this type of one, even though on the thinner chains you'll see this. But they don't like to put these heavy clasps on the thinner chain because then it will fall around to the front and then you'll have a necklace that your clasp will be in the front. So on the really fine chains, you're usually going to get this type of clasp. It'll have a little flat area where it will tell you what's in it, like that, and then this type of clasp if it's a super fine chain, because they don't want it to turn around upside down and have your chain heavier part in the front, the locking thing in the front. So anyway, hopefully you've learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Check out my blog, thesecretisgratitude.com. I usually try and put pictures and explain it a little bit better on the blog, so that if you have any questions, you can go to the blog and look it out and just type in gold clasps at the bottom of the homepage for that post. And thanks for watching, and I hope you have a blessed day.